It was minus 15 degrees when Tyson Steele woke up to a hole burning through his ceiling. He had seconds to react. No time to grab a jacket, no time to save his dog. By the time he got outside, his entire cabin, his home, his supplies, every way he had of calling for help was already gone. He was 20 miles from the nearest neighbor. No phone, no radio, temperatures cold enough to kill a healthy man in hours. What happened over the next 23 days is one of the most remarkable true survival stories Alaska has ever recorded. And it started with a single piece of cardboard.
Tyson Steele wasn't a tourist. He wasn't lost by accident. He was 30 years old, from Salt Lake City, Utah, but Alaska was in his blood. His father and grandfather had both lived there, and growing up, he begged for their stories about the wilderness. Years before this night, he'd worked as a winter caretaker at a remote fishing lodge. That experience convinced him of something most people never consider. He bought his own piece of land in the Susitna Valley. Remote, beautiful, only reachable by small plane, 20 miles from another living soul. By September, he was living there completely alone, with his 6-year-old chocolate Labrador Phil by his side. He loved everything about it. The stream water instead of tap water, the timber instead of a hardware store. He had no idea how quickly that dream was about to turn into a nightmare.
On the night of December 17th, Steele had spent the day working on his homestead. Exhausted, he lit the wood stove and went to sleep, planning to check the fire again soon. He never got the chance. Sometime in the night, he tossed a large piece of cardboard into the stove, along with some logs and kindling, before drifting back off. That decision changed everything. He woke to a chill and noticed something wrong above him. A hole, fire coming through the ceiling. At first, he thought he could handle it. He grabbed a fire extinguisher. It was old. Nothing came out. He ran outside and started throwing snow at the flames, but within moments, the entire roof was engulfed. He had seconds, not minutes, to grab whatever he could reach. His communication devices, charging inside, were consumed by the fire, along with almost everything else he owned. His dog Phil didn't make it out. Steele stood in the freezing.
He had survived the fire, but surviving that first night was only the beginning of what he was about to face. With no shelter and temperatures near minus 15, Steele's first move was simple: dig. He carved out a snow cave and spent the first 2 nights inside it, using nothing but the clothes on his back: felt-lined boots, long johns, and a wool sweater. His snowshoes had burned in the fire, which meant walking anywhere through the deep powder surrounding him was nearly impossible. He had a satellite messenger device that could have called for help almost instantly. It was dead, and his generator, damaged in the fire, meant he had no reliable way to recharge it. Using scraps of tarp and leftover lumber from the wreckage, he built a second, sturdier shelter around his one surviving wood stove. Then, he made a decision that would define the next 3 weeks. He kept that fire burning constantly. Not really for warmth, he later said, more just to take the edge off the cold enough to function and to heat whatever food he had left.
But warmth wasn't his biggest problem anymore. Food was. Steele had a stockpile of canned food. He rationed it carefully, roughly 2 cans a day, stretched to last him up to 30 days if it came to that. His headlamp lasted about 10 or 11 days before the batteries died completely, leaving him with only a handful of daylight hours to see by. Alaska's winter sun barely lingers above the horizon. He considered trying to walk out. He decided against it. Rivers nearby hadn't fully frozen, and one wrong step could be fatal. So he stayed, day after day, in the cold, in the dark, completely alone.
He later described what kept him from breaking down. It wasn't physical toughness, it was mental discipline. In his own words, it was more of a mental game than a survival game. He forced himself to stay busy, building, fixing, maintaining the fire, because the moment he stopped moving was the moment his mind had room to spiral. Days turned into weeks, and back home, people were finally starting to notice something was wrong. Before the fire, Steele had told his family not to worry if they didn't hear from him for a while. Out there, spotty communication wasn't unusual. This time, the silence went on too long. Concerned friends eventually contacted authorities and asked for a welfare check. Alaska state troopers were dispatched to investigate his remote homestead. Finding him wasn't simple. His land sat in the middle of nowhere, accessible only by aircraft, surrounded by miles of forest and river. A helicopter was sent out to search the area from above, the only realistic way to spot a single man in that much wilderness. By this point, Steele had been alone in the cold with dwindling supplies for over 3 weeks. On January 9th, 2020, Steele's 23rd day stranded, he heard something in the distance. A helicopter. He said he knew immediately it was searching for him. He ran out from his shelter, waving his arms as hard as he could, pointing towards something he'd carved days earlier, a giant SOS stomped into the snow, along with a makeshift airstrip clearing. The crew spotted him. Pilot Cliff Gilliland and Trooper Zach Johnson brought the helicopter down and pulled him to safety. His clothes were smoke-stained. His beard had grown out, untrimmed for weeks. Troopers on the scene said he looked almost unrecognizable from the ordeal. When they asked what he wanted first, his answer was simple, human, and a little bit funny considering everything he just survived. A hot shower and a McDonald's meal.
23 days, sub-zero temperatures, no communication, no dog by his side anymore. And somehow, he walked away from all of it.
In the weeks after his rescue, Steele didn't blame the wilderness for what happened. He blamed a habit. He admitted that he'd gotten lax about checking in regularly, and that letting his generator problem slide meant he had no working way to call for help the one time he desperately needed it. It's a lesson he now shares with anyone who spends serious time alone in remote places. Have a communication plan. Don't let small problems slide, because out there, small problems don't stay small for long. Despite everything, he didn't walk away from Alaska. He said he still planned to return one day and rebuild the homestead he'd lost. The same piece of land he dreamed about since childhood.
23 days alone, in temperatures that kill most people in hours, with almost nothing standing between him and the cold. Tyson Steele didn't just survive. He proved that sometimes the difference between life and death out there isn't about strength. It's about refusing to stop moving. If this story hit you the way it hit me, subscribe, because next week we're covering another true survival story, this time from someone stranded not in snow, but in open ocean for over 2 months. And let me know in the comments, could you have lasted 23 days out there? I read every single answer.